Yo, sup? We're back with more Great Ace Attorney 2, Resolve. Let's get right back into things, shall we? Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded. I, a Shoyu news reporter, on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the English woman. An interview?
You never mentioned this before.
What is this music, by the way? When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing, and as we many memoirs say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. Now that's a nice rhyme you got there. I'll give you props for that at least. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright, but... on one condition.
Condition?
You really think you're in the position to bargain when you're a witness in court? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san.
Soseki-san?
Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own, and brace yourselves, because it is not a harmless one. It's big.
What?
Shaking the courtroom here. Many memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front-page story. Very well, I will grant the witness's request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back to the stand.
Soseki-san, hiding something?
Telling lies? No defense lawyer. I don't know. The witness's secrets. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why many memoirs demands I reveal it now. Soseki just said nothing and just looked and just did his usual shady looking to the side. You mean to say the victim...
The victim regained consciousness?
Oh, well,
And what she did, you decided to ask her a question?
That's, true, yes. He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. Oh, really?
This is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now?
I think the witnesses don't trust you. I wouldn't either. A man whose name is Ouchie. Not really the most trustworthy, if you ask me.
Why didn't you mention this before, you yokel hack? It wasn't even a conversation!
Yes, I did pose the withering English Rose a question, and I don't deny it. But she can no longer speak. She was barely conscious, even. Counsel for the defense. I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth.
Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut?
I don't know. There's a hut to think about. Okay, that was a bit of a stretch. Hold it! What do we got?
You asked her for an interview, you say?
Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year.
About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life.
That's not the way I phrased it. Many memoism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson, is how I put it to her.
Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler. Though not what I would not the phrasing I would probably use.
Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. Funny you mentioned a restaurant, considering that's where she killed him. A veteran at the paper taught me that.
Oh, really? And how did Miss Brett answer?
With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Whew, that told me. So I waltzed right out of there.
Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together.
Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. The veteran at the paper taught me that. What else did this veteran teach you? Snap, this one's going in my cringe compilation.
Hold it!
Sir, I don't think I'm that cringe. Anyways, that was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away.
Persistence wins the prize, and it also makes me a frickin' creepo. Many memoists will tell you that. I'm just saying that the end of many memoists spells out moist. I don't know what to do with this information, I just wanted to point it out. Let them think you've left, then just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop.
And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young yokel students would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence.
Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness.
And now that you found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide.
I'm sure. God. Ryutaro is extreme levels of sass.
Please do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say.
Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it.
Hold it!
Statement number 3.
And Soseki-san remained behind in the hut.
That's right, yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaken all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging. I mean, I think that's just how he normally is, as you can see right here.
What do you expect?
You don't know the terrified troubles that taunted me while I was traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They'll be coming for me, surely. The Reaper's curse. That's all I could do. I felt as though I were gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat.
Poor Soseki-san. His experiences in London have scarred him deeply.
Yeah. Too bad we can't do any, like, therapy on this man. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly resooted. Yes, resoot. I mean, who knows, maybe resoot could be an alternative past tense pronunciation. I mean, I know it says recited right there, but who knows, it sounds cool at least. Recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now we come to the crucial part. That's when it happened. Oh, on Buddha, on God, on Buddha, on Zeus, on Poseidon, on Hades.
What question? What exactly did he say?
Well, now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Writer Man?
Out with it, you yokel hack. What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman?
Well, in truth, I'd been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose. Even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air.
Ray.
I ran up the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. Then just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman.
I nearly jumped out of my skin!
But what did you ask her, Soseki-san?
I don't remember. I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond?
She didn't! She said nothing in response!
But... When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony.
I will.
Man, I feel like my voice for Soseki changes a lot, because whenever he speaks in all caps, I don't want to be too loud as to not disrupt the household, basically. So I have to do a shouting voice, but not actually shout. I mean, granted, if I did shout, I would probably frickin' burst some eardrums on the recording. So who knows, maybe that's for the best. I asked her, who did this to you? But she never replied. Also, I think I've mentioned it, I might have mentioned it in the last game, but his eyebrows really do look like they were drawn with a pencil. Maybe Suzuki stole frickin' Many Memo's pencil and just used that to draw his eyebrows.
So you tried to find out who the culprit was?
He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind.
Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever. However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond, is that correct?
I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese.
Oh dear. Soseki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems.
I think it's more so a fear for the English than anything. Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. Man, he fears the Xenoblade? Ah, the Xenoblade. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Riderman? Huh? Well, yes, alright, she did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. Eh? She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant? Soseki-san, is that really true?
It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked who did this to you, the Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. Which was, it can't be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today.
No.
Soseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony?
What fiddlesticks, I say!
This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Oh. You know, that doesn't really work as well in the English translation, but... God, I would have loved to... Imagine if this game was voice acted and you were playing with Japanese voice acting and you just hear Soseki go, Fiddlesticks! Or something. Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but... Also, I just saw the autosave icon. But I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. But somewhere at the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all.
You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear?
Yes, that's it, unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because, as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime.
I am inclined to agree.
I have a 1 second, I need to check something. If they're pointing at the back... I was thinking maybe... It seemed like a far shot, but it seemed like maybe someone could be hiding like under the dress, but you don't see any feet at the bottom. Not that I can see, at least. We have another picture. What about that one? Wait a second. This picture was taken from the back of the hut. Who's to say it? If this picture was taken from the back of the hut... Oh, shit. That could easily mean that it was the frickin' mini memo. Right? Am I wrong on that? Huh.
And in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial.
No. No! And even more brain cells were lost that day.
The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers hopes dash. 92 points across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over.
But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet.
Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. Is it the one that I just found?
Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. And then, a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back.
Oh my god, I called it minutes before the game revealed it to me.
Many Memo frickin' stabbed her through the same place that he peeked the camera through. That's gotta be it, right? Because clearly he... Okay, hold up. Okay. So, this is clearly somewhere at the back. Let's go back to this one. She was sitting at the back of the hut. She was sitting here at this is the only place she can sit. Oh my god. Wait a second. Right here. This. You see that? There's like right above where I have this. Right above it, there's a freaking slit in the bamboo, whatever you want to call it. In the wall of the hut, there's a little slit. That's got to be where he poked the camera through. And that's right behind the seat. Oh my god. Yo, I just figured it out. I'm a genius. Or maybe I'm not, but still. I think I'm a genius. I don't know about y'all, but I think I'm pretty smart for that one. How could Miss Red have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray?
Because she wasn't stabbed from the inside.
Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question.
I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter.
This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Owarida. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim? I know how.
Objection!
Objection. Point. Point. Or table slam. Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being.
Oh, to what end, Counsel?
The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory. Ha! None exists.
Objection!
Wanna bet? There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time. By mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction, fantasy.
Is this the real life? Or is this just fantasy? Very well, as you seem so sure of yourself, Counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, Yon Ryutaro Naruhodo,
Yes, Your Excellency.
you will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed?
Probably like there? Naruhodo-san would never give up, and never surrender, and I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here.
Are you mad, Counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut?
Oh, he's sweating.
What?
Dun, 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 dun.
But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all. You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about, I can swear to that.
I can't tell if you're playing dumb or if you are just that dumb.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut, there is no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. And in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed.
You're bluffing. You're bluffing, you yoko.
The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, Counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut?
Take that!
Photograph. Uh-oh. Well, I've presented it now, but I haven't the first idea why I chose this piece of evidence.
Counsel, you're suggesting this piece of evidence bears out your theory as to how the victim was stabbed.
It's something of a windfall, Your Excellency.
And I think the word we're looking for, Counsel, was downfall.
If your theory is correct and the knife was thrust into Miss Brett's back from outside the hut, there should be a visible trace somewhere.
A trace? Yes, on the hut itself. Armed with that okay, I guess it was the other picture. Whoopsies. Alright. We're fine.
Take that!
The original photographic print of the crime scene?
Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to.
Counsel, once again I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing which you claimed it took place outside the hut? Right the frick here. Look closely just here. Ding! In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
Yeah, 'cause you blind, boy. That's why you got glasses. 'Cause you can't see shit.
It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls as you'd expect. However, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them.
This is extraordinary.
Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut.
Ah.
And of everyone present at the scene, there was only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Right 10 Mini Momo-san, it could only have been you.
Oh no! Oh shit!
Objection!
This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume as part of this farcical scenario that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
Nope.
No, of course not.
Or not?
If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable.
Well, she clearly wasn't untouchable. She ended up getting stabbed in the back from where she was sitting, am I right? Hey-oh.
A stool?
Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen.
Right behind the seat.
Would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool.
My word! So, in fact, the victim was
Killed while sitting on that stool. By a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen. Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Minbami-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of the case.
Yeah, you gonna eat your hat in frustration now, bro? What you gonna do?
By your silence, Minimemo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge.
This is absurd.
What? I'm waiting for the objection from him. That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter. This isn't over yet. It ain't over till the reporter dude sings. Which means that the defendant, Minbami-san, is innocent of the crime.
Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave.
I must say, I've never been more proud.
No, this can't be. The Achi clan can't. What of my growth of hope? It wasn't all an apparition. I can't accept this. I won't.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my verdict in... There it is. Bam. 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 There he is. Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals.
But We've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut through the reed screen walls.
And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfect logical deduction. So, your argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the English woman, does it? Oh. Well, it seems a little irrelevant now.
Irrelevant?
Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. What the fuck is this dude on? After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. Oh shit.
That is a pose. That is some very evil villain type pose. What are you talking about?
Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up.
What?
Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course.
The poison?
Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? It's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see. So presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood.
How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jot of who stabbed whom and whose back and with whose blade.
What are you, Franziska von Karma? It's like you're saying it's like you're her saying fool 50 times, but you're saying who and whom.
Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection!
Forgotten already, have we, Yoko? During these very proceedings, the laboratory the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever.
So let me get this down. The facts is skillfully established by the defense in this trial turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Red herring? Is that about right?
Well...
Ryutaro has died like over 10 times in this trial.
But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There is an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. Imbibed it?
You mean she drank it?
Having another look at the photograph here, as you can see. A bottle of carbonated water and a glass had been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut.
Oh, great. Of course it had to be carbonated water. The same as as frickin' case 1 of last game.
The poison could have been slipped into either.
So somebody made Miss Brett drink it.
Oh, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about?
Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you.
Me? What on earth does he mean?
Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it to be impossible You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life.
This says the dude who's currently hiding from being a criminal.
And I'm not about to start now, because that's many-memoism.
For a brief moment I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us?
I don't know. We got a ways to go, though. Witness testimony. Complete innocence. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent.
Wow, you are real scum of the earth, aren't you?
Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the court weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done.
This dude is a piece of work. So, you admit it then? That everything happened as I described? That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen?
You can't blame this miserable country. You can blame this miserable country of ours.
Oh man, he's about to go on a we live in a society speech, isn't he?
A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. What an utter piece of shit. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart.
You're implicating Ray again.
She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap, this journo here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Sorry, I was adjusting my mic for a second there if you heard anything. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical.
And therefore this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical.
That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last.
This is unbelievable. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now?
Slap.
Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel.
Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial.
Yes, Your Excellency.
cross-examination. Complete innocence. Next time on Great Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Adios, ciao, and bye-bye. Signing off until next time. Ja, mata ne.